Holiday greetings to all of you. My name is Monica Rivera, and I am a Chief for Stakeholder and Organizational Change Management for the Department of Veterans Affairs. Thank you for joining us today. We will be discussing and talking about the latest scams, trends, and fraud schemes. Our hope is that you can use this information to stay and keep your loved ones safe while you shop for the holiday season. But before we go any further, I would like for you to meet Ms. Carol Cando Pineda from the Federal Trade Commission. Carol, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about you and the work that you do for the Federal Trade Commission?
I sure can. But first, thank you so much, Monica, for having me here for this conversation. I think it's a really important topic, especially at this time of year, and it's a way for us to help keep our veterans and their families safe from lots and lots of scams. So I'm Carol Cando Pineda. I'm an attorney with the Federal Trade Commission, and I manage our outreach called Military Consumer, where we reach out to service members, to military families, veterans, and veterans' families with lots of tips about how to avoid scams.
Thank you, Carol. Well, let's go ahead and deep dive into this discussion. But first, I think it's very important to mention that bad actors, scammers, or fraudsters are very clever and they are constantly perfectionating and planning their next move. They are keeping up with the latest technologies and they are very, very savvy, technology savvy. Today, we will provide you with the top three categories of fraud scams and schemes that we want you to be alert, and especially when you're shopping for the holiday season. So, these top three categories are number one, imposter scams, number two, smart devices, and number three, social media engineering. Now, Carol, now that we have identified these three top categories, can you tell us about the first one, imposter scams?
Yeah. So imposters have been a top category of fraud reports to the FTC for many years. So what is an imposter? It's an impersonator. It's a scammer who that pretends to be somebody that you know, that you trust, that you do business with, that you might be familiar with, or somebody in authority, and they try to make you afraid that there's an emergency coming and you need to act immediately, or something really bad's going to happen, right? So they really try to trick you into gaining your trust or into making you afraid enough that you have to listen to them so that they can get personal information from you or get you to pay them. And a scammer, an imposter scammer, an impersonator is probably going to ask you to pay in a way that makes it very difficult to get your money back. Things like buying a gift card and sending them the PIN number, or wiring money through a company like MoneyGram or Western Union, through a payment app like Venmo or Zelle, or through cryptocurrency, right? They're all just as good as sending cash. Once you send those payments, it's very, very difficult to get that back. And that's why scammers like to demand that you pay them that way.
Yes, yes, yes. Very important information, and something that we definitely want to talk about to our family members and make them very aware of this type of scams. Now, I also want to share with you two scams under the smart devices categories. And these are smishing and robot artificial intelligence calls, or robot IA calls. So, smishing is the receiving of text messages or emails that are coming from a recognizable organization or business with the purpose of tricking you and providing them with your personal information. For example, we have been informed that there is a latest scheme where you will receive a text message from the post office, Amazon, or any of these companies that might be shipping you packages or that you might be expecting to receive a package as a gift. The message that you will receive will indicate that perhaps the package was not being able to deliver to your home, and they will provide you with a link for you to arrange a new date for delivery. Now, this link will try to get your information or your personal information that will be later on used to perhaps steal your identity or do other fraudulent activities. Now, the next one, the robot IA calls. These are calls that are made using artificial intelligence, creating conversations while mimicking the voice of your family members. And these voices, or the voice that is used in the recording, will request financial assistance or payments to remedy a bad situation. And normally, the scenarios that this schemes will use will be terrible. If they might talk about someone being in the hospital or in the emergency room, and there's this nice person trying to help your niece, your nephew, and you could potentially hear the voice of your niece or your nephew, but these are voices that have been created using artificial intelligence. Now, what we want to recommend is that you have a safe word. You're very careful. You have a safe word that you establish within your family and you talk about this. You definitely talk about this and maybe come up with a plan where you are able to call another family member to confirm the whereabouts of your family. Carol, anything you would like to add?
No, I just want to underline the fact that if you do get one of these family emergency scams, and it's pretty hard to tell whether you're dealing with an AI cloned voice or not, right? And it's probably going to be pretty alarming. And so we really want to underline that advice. I know it's going to be hard to hang up, and if you don't feel like you can hang up, put the call on hold and call your family member or call somebody that you know that can get in touch with the family member, because chances are most of the time you'll be able to sort it out immediately and be able to show that you're dealing with a scammer. That's really important. And then the other thing I wanted to underline is that if you're getting texts out of the blue or emails from out of the blue and you don't recognize them, don't click on those links, because that's how scammers get you onto websites that are able to download malware onto your device, and that way they can steal information from your computer, or somehow they'll get you to reveal information that way. And so the most basic advice I can give is, if you're getting texts and emails out of the blue and they've got links in them, don't click on the links.
Thank you. Carol, can we, to wrap up this conversation, can we talk about the social media engineering and the use of fake online stores, fake QR codes, and all this social media engineering?
Yeah, sure. So we know that more and more fraud is starting to happen on social media. So through social media messages. So you need to be aware that somebody might reach out to you through a social message, a social media message, and it could be a scam. It's not just calls, emails, and texts. And one of the ways that scammers might reach out to you is they may hijack the account of a business that you follow on social media. Maybe that business has giveaways, and the scammer is offering a fake giveaway, and they want it to look like it's a real giveaway based on a business that you've followed, you're interested in, that maybe you've bought some things from before. And the way you'll know it's fake is if in the message they're trying to get personal account information from you, or they're asking you to pay in one of those ways that I just talked about, the ways that are very hard for you to get your money back. The legitimate business isn't going to text you that way and insist that those are the only ways that you can pay, and try to get account information from you. They would go through legitimate means. So that's something you really want to think twice about, because if you want a free giveaway, then it should be free. You shouldn't be paying to collect that giveaway, and you shouldn't have to be giving up personal information. The other thing to be aware of is that if you're buying online, and maybe you're not so familiar with the retailer and you haven't bought from them before, do some research. Look into the product to make sure that this is a price that's roughly in line with what you're seeing at other retailers online. Look into the company. Maybe put the name of the company and the word complaint or the word scam into a social engine, so a search engine, and see what comes up. Those results may tell you what other people are seeing when they've dealt with that particular retailer, and you might be able to see whether you want to deal with them or not. And you always want to check into the delivery, the refund, and the return policies, because that might make the difference with legitimate businesses, whether you want to do business with one over the other, if those policies are better, you're getting a better deal when you factor in the delivery, the refund, and the return policy. And with scammers, if you can't find any way to get in touch with them after you've bought the product and you can't verify that it's a good telephone number, then you probably don't want to do business with them.
The Department of Veterans Affairs wants you to know that scammers target veterans, but they won't stop there. Scammers will also go after beneficiaries, and beneficiaries will become prime subjects of their attacks. I want to bring to your attention some tactics that you can use in the event that you're dealing with some of these scammers, fraudsters, or bad actors. Now, we talk about some of the strategies that we have identified that we want you to be alert during the holiday season. But we also want you to be alert during the whole year. We want you to be informed that there are predatory companies that might act aggressively by sending you emails outlining a sense of urgency and pressuring you or beneficiaries to act immediately without enough information. We also want you to be very cautious of companies who might contact you on behalf of the Veterans Benefit Administration, the Department of Veterans Affairs, or claiming that they have a special affiliation with the VA. Do not share your personal information. Do not, if you see that something is too good to be true, it probably is. So please beware, recognize the signs, and stay safe online. Carol, did you have any recommendations for veterans and our community in general to stay safe and protect their loved ones during the holiday season?
Well, definitely, I want to reiterate the two signs of a scam that we talked about: the contact from out of the blue, pressuring you, creating urgency. There's a lot of high emotion involved in whatever the story is, good or bad. Maybe they try to convince you that you want something and it's fantastic, or something terrible is going to happen. A sheriff is going to come and arrest you because you have back taxes, or your social security number is compromised. The endless stories, they just keep evolving, but there's always some high emotion involved. That's your first sign. And if they're insisting that the only way you pay is in one of those ways that makes it really difficult to get your money back, you're probably dealing with a scammer. And then the last thing that I would say is when you're dealing with somebody and you're arranging a contract, or it's a big sale, you want to read the paperwork, whether it's a full contract between you and an advisor, or whether it's just the terms of service, or when you're buying from somebody online. Know exactly what you're getting into. Read those policies so that you know what to do if something goes wrong, who you can contact, and what you're agreeing to. It's your money, and it's your right to know how you're spending it.
Thank you, Carol. Do you have any resources that we can share from the Federal Trade Commission?
Yes, most definitely. If you want to stay ahead of the scammers and sort of know what the latest scams are, sign up for FTC's Consumer Alerts, and that's ftc.gov/consumer alerts. You get them in your email box whenever we put out a post. And whenever we start to see the signs of a scam, we try to put out a post immediately so that we can alert as many people as possible quickly. And if you do see one of these scams, whether you believed it or not, whether you lost money to it or not, the FTC wants to know about it. It's one of the best ways that we can keep everybody in the loop on what's happening. And to report a scam, go to reportfraud.ftc.gov.
You hear Carol. If you want to report fraud, please go to the FTC platform. Now, the Department of Veterans Affairs also provides assistance in the event that you have been a victim of identity theft. We have a dedicated helpline, and the number is 1-855-578-5492. 1-855-578-5492. Now, if you are a veteran or know a veteran that might be missing a VA benefits payment, or identifies a discrepancy in their payments or fines, a suspicious activity within their direct deposit account, we want you to contact us at 1 800 827 1000. 1 800 827 1000. Now, Carol, do you have any parting words before we wrap up?
No, I just want to thank you and VA for your partnership and for working together. We're able to reach so many more people, so many more veterans with this helpful information, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Carol. On behalf of the Department of Veterans Affairs, I want to thank you and the Federal Trade Commission for the commitment on protecting our nation's veterans and the military community. Thank you so much for this strong partnership, and I definitely look forward to continue working with you and the FTC. Now, we want to thank you for watching us today, for joining us. To all veterans, members of the military community, family members, loved ones, dependents, survivors, and caregivers, please stay safe. Keep an eye on the bad actors, and most importantly, happy holidays.